Beautiful aerial shot. Adam's up in the rafters today. I love it. Welcome back. Just in time for summer sipping. A new distillery is getting ready to open in Minneapolis. O'Shaughnessy Distilling Company will create both Irish and American whiskey, and they have recruited, this is why this is such a huge deal. They have recruited one of the top whiskey makers in the world to be a part of the process. Kendall got a sneak peek at this much anticipated new spot.
I talked to Stephanie March about this, and she was like, Kendall, this is a really big deal. I've been super stoked to meet you and talk about this. Before we get into the huge baby of this, why are we in this room?
This is where the whiskey process really begins. You start with grains like corn and barley, and you break them down into a roller mill, and you're just trying to get to a grist, a fine powder, which has the sugars and starches that you need to basically begin fermenting, which you're almost making beer there. And then from there, the distillation journey begins.
So making whiskey is like making beer?
That's the first part of the process. They actually call the fermentation process a brew house, because you first make a beer and then you get to make a great spirit after that.
Oh, okay. I'm such a nerd. I'm like, look at, you really would be able to see action happening.
Oh, for sure.
Once it's happening.
And it's like almost upside down coffee press, like you're filtering it. So you're going to separate the grains from the liquid, and then you're going to bring the liquid here to the fermenters. We're simply going to add yeast, and then that fermentation is going to start bubbling up, and you're basically going to create a beer at 8% alcohol by volume. And if you had a beer drinker here, they might want to stop right here.
I was gonna say,
but we normally take it on into distilling.
This is what I would say is like the mad scientist layer, or like the Wizard of Oz. I feel like I'm like gonna crank something and something's gonna happen here.
You actually would. When the distiller is actually making it, they're going to be tasting the distillate and nosing it to find out where the right cut is. But when you start talking about whiskey, it's all about getting to the heart of the distillate. The master distiller really knows the flavor that they're going for. And I think what we're really thrilled about is that our master distiller is a gentleman named Brian Nation. Yeah. Brian is kind of world-renowned in Irish whiskey circles with brands that we all know and love. He made Jameson, he made Redbreast, and we met with Brian and his wife over in Ireland and just had an instant connection. And we knew we could create something really special together.
From what I understand too, he's never left Ireland, and he and his family are now moving here to Minnesota to do this project with you.
They've lived in Ireland their whole lives, but he's moving here to the Minnesota community, and I think they're a little trepidatious about winter coming again, but we know he's going to have a good time here.
Okay, down here I think you really get an idea of the size of these copper pots. They're massive. Is there anything else in like Minnesota, Wisconsin area that is this size?
I think they're kind of one of a kind. They came from Forsyth over in Scotland, which is the #1 maker of kind of Irish style stills.
I just am so flabbergasted because I've been to a couple of smaller distilleries and I've seen them, and normally they're like 2 of me and 3 of me wide, but this is like, whoa, this is huge. When you come, anyone that can come in, they can do a tour kind of like what we just did. They can just come and grab a drink. What's the experience going to be like?
Yeah, so the experience is designed to be kind of a destination experience. So we really want to show people how we make whiskey. So there's a whole tour process that takes everybody through kind of milling and fermentation and distilling, and even how you mature whiskey in a cask. And there's a tasting room. And so we really want to bring that whiskey education and the joy of whiskey making that people can be so passionate about as a big part of the experience. And then, of course, for those who just want to have a nice cocktail or a whiskey here in the Keeper's Heart Bar, that'll be great too. But we're trying to bring something for everyone.
I'm ready. Sign me up. I'll be here in July.
July? She barely came to work today. She's hanging out there. Kendall joins me now again. How big? TV distorts things sometimes.
Yeah.
That place looks ginormous. Is it as big in person?
The pots are what really gets you to be like, whoa, those are massive. Because if you've been to a local distillery, you know what a normal pot size looks like.
Yeah.
These are huge. They take up both stories, right? And there's 3 of them. So we've got that main room we were in. There's another room that's just about as big that you can rent for parties. There's an upstairs area that you can look over the distillery. There's a patio. There's a basement area you can go into for tastings. And they do that tour I went on. They'll be offering it to people too if you're interested in how the process works. So.
And where is it again?
So it's in Prospect Park neighborhood. So if you're not familiar with Minneapolis, it's very close to Dinkytown, a little closer to St. Paul, right next to Surly. So you could literally walk between their distillery and Surly
That's
if you want to,
fantastic.
take people with you. And
Yeah. Fun afternoon, fun
For sure.
evening. I like that. It's almost like a little liquor campus. Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
That's great. Again, bravo, Twin Cities. To learn more about O'Shaughnessy Distilling Company, check out their website, osdistilling.com. And thanks for letting us in. We appreciate it. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this with the bubblegum goodbye question and more.